and or the anti-Trump protesters and the violence that we saw last night, if this was a pro-Trump group, remember we were talking about this with Charlie Gasparino a little bit last hour, would there even be more outrage, if we flip the script on it? Gina Loudon is with us, and it goes to the point, that's why I asked Robert if we've heard specifically from Mrs. Clinton about it. It goes to the point, Gina, about whether there is, as some people have suggested, a double standard in the way these things are looked at. What do you think?
Well, 100% there's a double standard. But the funny thing is, everyone expects this of that side. This is what's expected behavior of that side. So there's not only less outrage in, for example, the mainstream media, but there's less outrage even amongst conservatives because we just expect them to act like this because that's how their side acts. But here's the thing that's interesting. While Hillary is so busy trying to label Donald Trump as dangerous, I think it's become really evident to the American public that the ones who are the most dangerous are the ones who are trying to silence Trump and his supporters.
Well, and I know you say that we expect this. Maybe we have grown used to it over the last few months, but this is different. I mean, sure, you could go back to 1968 and the Democratic Convention and all that people reference, but in terms of recent political history, there is something different about this year, and I don't know if it's just because of Trump or it's just because of how angry people are about other issues, but there is something different. I mean, that was different last night. That was quite violent,
Well, I think that's right, and I think that Hillary essentially called for it in her speech yesterday that we all heard here in California. And I think she has to either be held accountable for that or admit that she's complicit in this. But meanwhile, I think good, rational, moderately minded liberals are going to be flocking to Donald Trump's campaign more than about $10 million worth of advertising
I'm not
could bring,
sure.
in my opinion.
At the same time, as we say many times when things get out of hand inside a Trump rally, that Donald Trump doesn't necessarily need to be blamed for that. The same should be true on the other side, right? That it's not necessarily blaming Mrs. Clinton for what's going on, but just saying that the question was whether she would come out and publicly condemn it. Her spokesperson, campaign manager has, but she hasn't come out herself and condemned it. I don't think that would be the same as blaming her.
Well, I would go one step further, and I would say that she actually incited this yesterday in her speech. The word she used.
Which comment in the speech?
The word she used. She talked about how basically our entire national security was at risk if Donald Trump is president of the United States. How he shouldn't have his hand on the nuclear button, so to speak. How he was dangerous. She loves to use those words, and she's creating this whole image of this scary person when the one who's actually really scary is her and the establishment. And if you look at her record, and many of us have, there's a lot of debris in her dust.
No, my only point is that if we're going to say on the other side that Donald Trump should be able to come out, because again, it's a free speech thing, right, Gina? It's like if Donald Trump can come out and say whatever he wants, Hillary Clinton say what she wants. They're the candidates. By what they say, to take the next step and say that somehow incites people, it's almost giving an excuse. Do you know what I mean? It's almost giving an excuse for the violence as opposed to, it's almost justifying it in a weird way. At least I think it is.
I understand you, and your point is taken, but I would say that the things that Donald Trump says are warning about what the establishment does in general and what policy can do to the average Americans, and it's all true, and we know it. What she said was that he is dangerous, that he is a threat, that she is insinuating that he is some kind of tyrannical leader that is going to fundamentally change America in horrible ways, almost alluding to something Nazi-esque. This is inciting, and I really see it that way, and I really think the mental process of the American public agrees.
Okay, Gina, thank you. Gina Loudon out in California today. And we'll check back with Robert Gray, by the way, if there's any news out of that Hillary Clinton event. But